Alright. We have some breaking news here with regards to Netflix potentially, well, it is a rumor, acquiring Roku. Now, most of you know already that Roku has been spinned off from Netflix. Both of them were actually one company before. One decided to go the streaming way, the other decided to build its own hardware and then software, which became the Roku we know today. Now, at the time of making this video, Roku is up about 8%, Netflix is down about 1%. Now, some of you might say, why should Netflix acquire Roku, or why should they merge together? Well, Netflix has announced that it's probably going to add ads to its platform. Roku, very good with ads, has smart TVs, has OneView, can target people better than others. No brainer, right? So let's have a look at that right now. Oh, and by the way, if you want to support this channel so I can pay for my Netflix subscription, do check out the link in the description below to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. So from insider here, inside Roku, talk is heating up about an acquisition by Netflix. So these are the three key points. Roku has a growing advertising business, something Netflix is looking to get into. Roku started as a product inside Netflix. It was spun out more than a decade ago. A deal makes sense, some insiders say. Others question Netflix's desire for a hardware company. Now, obviously, Netflix is not buying Roku for its hardware. It's buying Roku, well, it might be buying Roku for its advertising side of stuff. So the platform. And why does this make sense right now? Well, besides the fact that Netflix wants to offer ads, and there is also the fact that Roku stock has dropped about 80% since July last year. Now, this is not the first time that Roku has been an acquisition target. Last year, when, according to the Wall Street Journal, Comcast CEO Brian Roberts considered purchasing the company, and in January, the departure of a top Roku executive stoked questions about the company's future. And then in recent weeks, the possibility of a Netflix acquisition has become the focus of internal chatter at Roku. That's when Roku abruptly closed the trading window for all employees, prohibiting them from selling any of their vested stock at a time when they should normally be able to do so, according to two people familiar with the matter. There may be the other reasons for such a trading halt. Companies typically close trading windows for employees before releasing information that will affect their share price to avoid insider trading. Now, I do have some tweets that back this up. So this is a tweet from the Lookout. So she basically said that this looks accurate. Example, CEO Wood last sold in March 2022. He had sold every month for years, and April 2022 was his first calendar month without a sale since January 2019. Very interesting. He actually added the picture right here. As you can see, a lot of selling for a long time. And he continues to add a little bit information here. Per 144 filings, recent sales by other Roku executives, Kay and Rosenberg, were via the 10b5-1 plans adopted well before the purported trading blackout, respectively June 21 and August 21. This further supports the Business Insider report that a trading blackout due to MNPI could be in place. What is MNPI, you might ask? Material non-public information. And so we go back to the article talking about Netflix looking to introduce advertising to its service for the first time as it faced increased competition and subscriber losses. Now, Roku has built a robust video advertising platform that generated $647 million in first quarter revenue. That's about 7 times the sales brought in by Roku's hardware business. Now again, you're not buying Roku stock for the hardware business. It makes sense with where Netflix want to go, a technology investment banker said, and it makes sense in the current environment. Everyone is looking around thinking, I was worth twice as much last year. What happened? Well, what happened? The market happened. And then this comes from one senior level Roku employee, said the deal between the two companies would align well in terms of culture, business, and current valuation. Well, obviously, Netflix is trying hard to get into advertising-based video on demand, and Roku has it. Everyone who spoke with Insider for the story asked not to be identified, discussing private matters, the logical move. I would like to add that right now, Roku being Roku, they're basically Switzerland when it comes to the streaming players, right? Everybody can go on Roku and advertise themselves, no questions asked. Now, if Netflix were to acquire Roku, would that still be the same story, or would Netflix just put himself up there as number one and just let the others maybe, I don't know, die slowly? Obviously, it is counterintuitive to let the Roku business die down, because what's the point, right? Roku is doing fairly well. Their business is thriving, not the hardware type, but the advertising type. The platform revenue is doing pretty good. So with Netflix acquiring is a bit of a conflict of interest. Now, there is another side of this story here, which is a bit more positive. So owning Roku would give Netflix a huge competitive advantage when it comes to knowing what people watch and when they stop watching, not just on Netflix, but also across rival streaming channels carried through Roku boxes. Now, this again is positive for Netflix, but would these competitors like this move? One media industry executive who has spoken with Netflix in recent weeks told Insider that Hastings' view of his company's future was nothing is off the table and that he's open to anything. There's no religion anymore. And I'll end by saying this: despite recent shares decline, Roku would probably cost Netflix at least 1/5 of its $88 billion market valuation. Alright, so to conclude, as a Roku shareholder, from a Netflix standpoint, this is a no-brainer, right? Roku right now at a $12 billion market cap is a no-brainer to acquire it, especially since Netflix needs that advertising side of the business, and they said it themselves, they don't want to deal with that, they don't want to build it from scratch. That's why we talked about the Trade Desk before, Roku, etc. Now, them buying Roku would be a huge move, and again, a no-brainer. Now, as we said before, how will that work with every other streaming giant that that is currently working with Roku right now? How would they see this move? As a, we are now playing second fiddle here, or everything stays the same and we're good to go? Question should be asked. Now, as a Roku standpoint, me as a Roku shareholder, to be honest, currently, I don't mind this happening, seeing how far both companies working together could still go. Now, obviously, I don't mind Roku staying as a standalone company. They're doing quite well. Would I like to get Netflix shares? Yes, maybe I wouldn't mind. To be honest, I wouldn't mind. Now, what I do mind is, again, the negative point I said before, is the fact that maybe Netflix will ask Roku to change its Switzerland type of status, which probably is going to hurt the business. And that's not a good thing. Like, if Netflix is thinking about creating some types of walled gardens, that's not a good thing. And I wouldn't approve of that as a Roku shareholder. But as of now, this is all the information we have, rumors, speculations. But if we take a little bit of the crumbs here and there, it might lead to an eventual acquisition. Now, again, we had rumors before about other companies, right? We had PayPal acquiring Pinterest, no, Microsoft acquiring Pinterest. At the end of the day, they didn't acquire anyone. Well, Microsoft acquired Activision, but that's a whole other story. So overall, that's what happens. Do share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're a Netflix or a Roku shareholders, share your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, maybe hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.